So with your mix, Fredrik, you discussed the challenges, the central challenges of the mix. Could you just tell us again what you felt they were?
The main challenge was there's so much different kind of music styles in there. So it's sweet melodic stuff, it's heavy stuff, it's really fast stuff, and so that was a bit challenging actually.
Getting the dynamics right.
Yeah.
In the tracks. And what was your, after listening to the multi-track and sort of hearing the song, what was your primary focus? Was it getting a lot of weight, or was it about the stereo width or the energy, or was it just everything? Was there an initial sort of blueprint focus wise?
Not really. What I normally try to do when I start a mix, I start with the drums, which is the beat, and then depending on what's going on with the drums, I'm trying to find what fits for the drumming, and then I build on with bass and then guitars, and then normally I go back again to the drums and start, and then go to the vocals. In this case, also some keyboard stuff.
And with the guitars, you decided to reamp the guitars. What was the main reason for reamping?
It's just like, it had been like this several times when I do mix with people who have recorded their own guitar, and they are never really happy, and they cannot put the finger on what it is, and I'm like, let's try to reamp them. And then, yeah, there we go. So I just went straight for reamping. Then I also know what guitar track I have, way less than what was recorded originally. Also, I go always for less is more, even if Yngwie Malmsteen say more is more, which is also correct. So, and because I think that song was really tricky to mix, I also went back and redid it with the original guitars because I didn't feel satisfied. And then I went back and listened to what I reamped, and then I went back to the original guitars. And so, but I liked my reamped guitar best. I checked with my colleague Rob also, and he was like more into the reamped guitars.
And when you reamped the guitars, was there a level of drive or a frequency emphasis that you wanted different? Was it more mids or less gain or more gain?
No, it's just more. The original guitar felt a bit loose. It's hard to explain. Yeah. So I want more focused. Yeah.
And then your approach with the reamping, you opted to quad track with the reamps.
Yes.
And am I right in saying you had a Mark III 5150 one side and the Engl Savage 120 the other side?
Yeah, that's the easy way. On fully 100% pan rated left and right, I have a EVH Mark III and an EVH, the block letter. So they are running two cabinets. One is the Engl, and the other one is the old Marshall vintage. So, and then I mix these two sounds to one track, not 4 tracks, because I use 4 mics, but I go straight into one track.
Wow, okay. So
no regrets.
No, okay. So if I understand you correctly, one rhythm guitar reamping, you're splitting to 2 different
Now
amps.
I go into the preamp of the EVH and put that to the Engl speaker. And then there is a preamp out on that EVH. And I go into return of the 5150, so I'm only using the power amplifier of the 5150.
And then take the speaker out, put the 5150 to a different speaker amp?
To a different speaker, a Marshall.
4 microphones all mixed down to one?
Yes.
And that's from one rhythm take?
That's from one rhythm take for left and right. And then I went to Engl Savage 120 Mark II, and I did just a guitar tone there that I think, fills in the blank of the other guitar tone. Because these 2 amplifiers are very different in the character, and an easy way to say it is like the EVH is an American sounding and the Engl is German sounding.
Yeah.
And if you play it on a Savage, you understand what I mean.
And with the Engls, you talked about the submixed EVH and the original block letter 5150 100
Yeah.
left and right. Did you have the
There were
angle slightly in?
yes,
Slightly?
I can actually check here. There's many tracks. Yeah, there are 80, 80.
80, 80. Okay. And what other approaches for getting optimum width to the production? Do you do anything with like did you do any spatialization treatment on the mix to go wider? Did you use any kind of like processing on the vocals for stereo widening or?
Not on the vocals, I did any stereo widening. There is reverb and there is echo, and they are in stereo, so you get the stereo. But I use a built-in again Pro Tools like stereo widener for the whole mix.
Right.
So I've always been a big fan of this Panasonic Super Wide Vision.
That's the processing, is it, within Pro Tools?
Yeah, it's this is the master bus, so I do the mastering in the mix.
Yeah.
So this one is built in with Pro Tools.
Okay.
So just make it a little bit wider.
And that's just in the higher frequencies, is it? Is it one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in a little bit in the mid. Okay.
It's depending on. Today I didn't. This time I didn't. Normally I take this down a little bit in the low end.
Yeah.
Yeah, to keep it more focused.
Sure.
I normally try to go the old way when it comes to bass. That you have the bass in center.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Stereo widening?
No.
No. And your option for going with quad track rather than double track guitars, was there some reason you went for?
There was 4 tracks for rhythm guitar, so that's why I did it. So the thing like with the EVH and Mark III and the block letter from the beginning was that I recorded the EVH on one track and the 5150 on another track, and then I did this panning 80, 100. That's to make the guitars wider, actually, by doing them a little bit more mono. This sounds weird, but and maybe a little bit more focused. So that's what I did back in the days when we didn't want to have people didn't want to do quad track, actually, because it's time consuming and boring and all that stuff. Then I did that so I could have like this fake quad tracking thing.
Sure. Can we have a listen to the Outer 2 with the submixed Mark III and the 5150?
So only guitars?
Yeah, but just the 2 hard right and hard left. The hard right and hard left guitars.
So... And then the Germans kör lite grann.
Yeah. And then just the angle. Yeah.
So they help each other, if you understand.
Yeah.
But there is also a lot of, I use this lo-fi thing and put distortion on.
On the guitar aux?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if this is just a little bit. It makes it louder. It's hard to say if it does something with the sound, but it feels like it does something with the sound. It's just like... I don't know, but it's just like, it's get louder. So that doesn't actually add any... And then I have there's a lot of treble up. Maybe a little bit too much, and take off a little bit here around 800, more bass on. And then, yeah, here I find some annoying frequencies. You can hear them.
The vibration.
Yeah. And then everybody uses this plugin because it's brilliant if you don't use it too much.
Yeah.
Also clean up a little bit. And then a new Multiband favorite plugin from Solitude. You see it's taking bass here. The guitars get heavier without it, but it cleans up so you get the bass.
So that's compressing just the the low end, is it?
Yes, I use it for overhead also.
Okay. And it's a FET compressor. Yeah, okay.
It's an English one from the beginning.
Yeah, fantastic. And with the continuing with this idea of the width of the mix, do you have your overheads hard left and hard right?
Yes.
On this?
I think so. Let's see. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I place out the ride approximately where I think it should be, the hi-hat also.
Yeah.
And then you had overhead snare. That one I put in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And here also, again, I use this drummer. This do a fantastic job on... I think... If I take it off.
So you got that compressing the lows and the highs, have you?
Yeah, and it's leaving the cymbals alone.
Wow, okay.
Because I know other people do like side chains, compression and stuff like that, but this works great.
And have you got the cymbals high pass filtered before that, have you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then the compressor don't have to work so much.
Yeah. Okay.
And I normally try to just leave the cymbals as they are. Was normally like we do now these days, maybe it's like we go something like this instead. Take down the highs,
Yes.
which was not normal back in the days.
No. So on the first two areas we've looked at the guitars and the cymbals, you've got the processing on the sum rather than on the individual channels.
Yeah.
Does that change with project and in which
Yes,
area?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to have separate EQs on the guitars, so that you can get them to match together. But when I do reamping here, it's like I do 2 tracks and then take a new amp if required tracking, and I try to like fill in the blanks of one of the sounds, and so they go play together.
But then when they're all playing together, you'll look at EQ as a whole unit.
Yes,
with all of them. And that's the same with the cymbals there. You've got them all on and then taking care of them from there. Moving to the bass, am I right in saying you haven't used any stereo widening principles on the
No.
bass? Oh, okay.
I actually have a bus for this one also. So I have first the line. I made a sound that I think fitted to what you had recorded, which sounds really good. And then I made this tone is pretty similar
Yeah.
with the bass player. And I play them together. It makes a little bit more bottom end.
And you got a little bit of DS. Okay.
There's an EQ. To bring up the presence of the bass.
So is that 520 that you've attenuated there?
Yeah. This was the case this time. And I used this UAD
Yep.
4K. And this used to take away the picking. Now it's nothing here right for the moment, but there was a little bit. Make it.
Sure. But you've also got a de-esser on the DI as well. Is that
No,
Is that
that's
a compressor?
That's a compressor. This one, I start from a SVT
Yep.
presets and then I tweak from there
Sure.
because that sounds really pretty good from the beginning. So
And the initial plug-in on the DI, that's the...
it's a little compressor. Yeah. So I get a more even distortion from the plugin.
So would you consider this much less compression than you'd normally use on bass, or?
It's depending on the bass player.
Because
Because if there is a lot of like very normal, it's like they play the bass and then they go from E to A, for example, and then the E notes ringing, then you shouldn't go on too heavy with the compression because then you just bring that noise up and everything gets like this.
Sure. And moving onwards, do you generally apply reverb to the kick, and have you done it on this mix?
Sometimes I put a little bit of, we can do like this. I always put the sends on, and sometimes I just put a little bit on the kick drum on the small room. I have a small room and a large room with drums. Bass drum here, I think I took away. Do you have it recorded a lot? No, I used. Oh yeah, this one I took out.
Yeah.
Because that bass from this one and this one and this one didn't play so well together, I think. So when I was mixing, I just muted this and find out that the bass drum was cleaner.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the sample that you've used there, is that more of an ambient or a drier kick sample?
Oh, look here.
The spinning? Oh no.
Yeah, but it's just like the M1 is not optimized for Pro Tools yet.
No, it's still on Rosetta, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's a lot of triggering here actually. This is the acoustic one. I try to keep it because it's just like brings natural.
Yeah.
So if I use, this is just not this boring,
Yeah.
kind of. If you compare, like you get it like this, you get some human feeling there.
Yeah. And the Brighton, is that that's one of your own samples?
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah. Okay. And have you got any sends to reverb from your metalwork? From your metalwork to reverb? Have you got any verb on your cymbals, or are you keeping your cymbals dry?
Yeah, dry.
Keeping them dry?
Yes.
And the room mics, I know you use the room mics very, very little, or did you keep those fairly dry as well?
I did, let's see what I did with the room mics. They are pretty fairly used actually.
Yeah.
What did I do here? This one, that's also from Softube. It's just like germanium compressor. It's just like, it's just bringing balls to it. And you can go way further with it. And I use this shitty compressor that you get with Bluetooth.
And then you're using the soothe to attenuate the cymbal abrasion?
Yeah, exactly. The time I used to soothe to get rid of that harshness I get.
Yeah. And that works alongside with your... Beautiful. That works alongside your parallel compression.
Yes.
Which you've got, if I remember rightly, from your kick, snare and your toms going
Yes.
to the BS76. And how do you... Obviously, it depends on the quality of the room mic.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you get. But do you generally use both together, or do you tend to prefer parallel compression rather than the room mics, or is it just the
That's
project?
depending on, it's so hard to say. It's just like when you have your bass drum, snare drum, the drum kit up running, as you think that is good, and I'm sitting trying and like, which sounds best? Is the room mic good? Sometimes you had like, I remixed recently Crimson Thunder with Hammerfall, and this room was beautiful. It's fantastic. It put so much aliveness to the drums, and so I called up Oscar and talked about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm glad you liked it because we spent a lot of money on that studio,
Right.
after recording, but it was really good."
So you haven't frequency bracketed those room mics. They're kind of like, but you've just taken the cymbal abrasion down with the soothe.
Yes.
But there's no high pass filtering or low pass filtering.
No.
No. Okay. Interesting. And do you ever take? Sorry. Well,
Sometimes I do that, but sometimes I don't. Depending on the sound.
depends on the production. Do you ever take sends from the channels rather than the auxes to reverb? Like, am I right in saying that you took sends from all your individual kick?
Yeah, that
channels?
individual kick channels, snare, and toms. I send it what we call Dr. Comp.
Yeah, Dr. Comp. Okay.
Yeah, and Dr. Comp is the same shitty compressor. It's not shitty. It works for what we're doing here.
Yeah, great.
But it gets some punch into the drums.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also put. So this is how it sounds before.
Yeah.
And it's, push it up, and
Yeah.
it's easy to use too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what did I use this time? Oh, EMT 140, short reverb, 1 second. And for the long reverb, I had this unit back in the days, and I remember this. This is the best emulation you can get. It's a medium stage short. Yeah.
Yeah, I often go for the large wood room, but you've got it on the
Medium stage hall.
medium stage hall.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And
This is like, you can. Let's see, we will turn this off. Yes, we do. So this is like. And I think I used, that's why I go, when I go on with triggering stuff, I normally, it's side, bottom, yeah, this normally is
pretty
a
loud.
bit, yeah, pretty loud.
For what reason are you taking the sends to the parallel compression from the individual channels rather than the aux?
Because if I have it from here, I don't know actually, but I think it's like, then I know I get, you know, the right amount. If,
Sure.
Yeah, if I start mucking around here, it can happen stuff.
Got you. So you made the decision to use the waveform edited toms rather than the unedited toms?
They were there, so why don't use them?
You prefer them, do you ever use the spill on the tom mics as a cohesive element, or?
Yes, maybe, but it's like when I put gates on toms and snare, I never go like all in. Like this time, I didn't even use a gate for the snare drums. So.
But the snare's not gated?
Nope.
Nope. Fascinating. Fascinating. Just play the acoustic snare without the sample if we could. Thanks, Fredrik.
Now this is a little bit loud, the bottom one, because this one has to compensate for it.
Sure.
Yeah. And this is the sample by itself. So I try to get a bit darker-ish snare drum to put in some bottom.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. And there's no approach with different, like that's just your sends from here is just reflecting the contribution to the mix. So with your sends, you've not sent more from the snare trigger, for example, than the others. It's just according to the volume of the channel, is it? Does that make sense?
No.
Are you mainly using this as a send source compared to the others? So if you open up the send from...
Oh, you mean to the parallel compression?
Yeah, to the parallel compression.
They have the same volume as they have in the mix.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I'm feeling like this is okay, then I put the sends on, put them in pre, and send them off. Copy to send.
And you've got the sends to reverb from the aux.
Yeah, from the aux, yeah.
Fantastic. And
because otherwise, if I have them from the channel and I decide to lower the volume of the whole snare drum, it's going to get more reverb.
More reverb, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just staying with reverbs, do you generally go for more reverbs or more of an approach with delay lines for vocals?
It's depending on. I normally my clients are the first thing they're picking on is that it's too much reverb on the vocals. So I try to do it like an equal mix.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the drums, we've got this short EMT plate and we've got the Lexicon 480. With the vocals, is it also two different reverbs?
No, that's how I use reverb and this is something with this reverb is as it comes.
Yeah.
It just like sounds good on everything.
Yeah.
So I have been sitting and doing my own presets for this for days, and to try to get back the 480 sound. But in some update, this came and it was just like you open it up and it works.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect time, perfect sound.
Yeah. And is that the only reverb you've got on Ralph?
Yes.
Right.
I've chosen bars, race Jericho's falling walls, magic pouring.
And I just bought a new plugin. It's very rare of me buying a new plugin, but I bought this Echo from Brainworks.
Yeah.
And it's I love it. It sounds really cool.
And just the vocal with the delay without the reverb?
I've chosen bars, race Jericho's falling walls, magic warriors, wordless battle hymns, praise the war played out within.
And I don't remember. Well, I did some EQ, just take away some low end and just put it up with the preset.
Yeah.
I mean presence.
I've chosen bars.
As you can see, it's pretty much compressed already. When it's a very slight compression here, ratio 8:1,
Yep.
and not the fast. It is a very fast attack time on this compression, but it's not full attack time. Here, there was something that was annoying me that I took away.
Yeah.
2.85 kilohertz. There was something. It probably didn't bug me from the beginning, but there was something. So I was sitting and there's sharp. So down a bit with it, and then just a simple deesser from.
And you tend to place the deesser last in the signal chain, or does it depend?
That's normally what I do.
Is it last in the signal
Yeah.
chain? Okay. Fantastic. Moving onwards, am I right in saying we chatted about the various performance speeds from a sort of like a slow groove into blast beats, but you looked for settings and processing approaches that stayed effective for the whole song, that to avoid lots of automation
Yes.
going on?
Yes.
And is there any automation on this mix that you used?
I don't think so, to be honest. Probably there was some that I was planning to do, but it never happened. I think it's here. That's why I think this. But I was back and forth with that from this vocal. But at the same time, it's cool when it's back in the mix. Yeah. So I did some. Let's see if I did something here. I don't think it's ending up to... No automation.
Fantastic. Moving on to the low end of the mix, are there any general principles that you look at as to how you manage the low end of a mix between the bass and the kick drum and the guitar? Are there any general principles?
I try to, like with that multiband compressor on the guitar, reduce the amount of bass so you don't get this boom, boom. Like back in the 90s when we were recording like these early death metal albums, so there was like bass on full, mid on 0, and treble on full. And I had a Marshall cabinet, and they are for heavy music guitar recording. They are sound good, but they don't manage when you get this bass. They go like boom, boom. So that's when I started compressing bass on the guitars, and it's turned out so much better.
Yeah. Do you generally have an emphasis on the bass being lower than the guitars in the frequency spectrum?
Yeah, of course, because they are 1 octave down. But I try to get them in same level. But you hear the guitar much more because they are higher frequency. So if you want to be heard in a metal band, play guitar or drums.
And with the kick drum and the bass, do you have any low-end management principles where you try and get the bass locked with the kick, or is it just trial?
I try to get the kick in a bit lower, in the bass, so they don't play in the same space. But sometimes it's hard to manage that.
And when you're trying to get this clarity between the bass, the guitars, and the kick drum, do you have any sort of anti-masking principles to get the clarity between them? Are there any principles that you try and look at to get them in their own pocket, in their own space?
Yeah, but for the bass, for example, there I try to, like, I think pretty 8.8 kilohertz, which is pretty high.
Yeah.
I normally down here somewhere.
Yeah.
With the bass, so you keep it away from. You can still feel there is some low end in the bass drums.
Yeah.
It's a very good bass player also. And you can also see, like, he plays softer on this part on the bass drum. And I'm letting him play softer. Yeah. Because it's musicians. It's like some people do, like they just go into this here, view curves. I've done something a little bit, make it a little bit less dynamic, but some people just go all bananas in it. So it's just like machine guns there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to follow the acoustic bass drums.
And then could you just add the guitars to the kick, bass?
Where do we go here? Could probably be more. I could probably be a bit more bass on the bass drum, maybe.
Sounds great. And moving onwards, are there any sidechain techniques you've used for this mix?
No.
Nope.
No.
Okay. And the multiband, we've looked at the guitars, you've used a little bit of multiband.
Yeah, to reduce the bass when it's like that.
And also the metalwork, the cymbals and the mics, you've got a little bit in the lows and mids to
yeah, that's
control.
Pretty much actually, in my. I think maybe it's like when you get older, you get less distortion on your guitar. It's the same when you mix it. You get less compression. It's like back in the days, I recorded the vocals with 30 dB compression, and then I used 30 dB again.
Just a sausage on
screen.
Yeah. Do you use dynamic EQ?
Dynamic EQ, no, not really, but that's the south is some kind of dynamic compression.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And am I right in saying you didn't actually automate your reverb times throughout? You
No, we have the same tempo more or less in the song, so I think it's just like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just lastly, back to the vocal, we looked at. So you've got one reverb. Or is there more reverbs? How many verbs have you got on the vocals?
I have only one, and I use the same. No, you don't really have any. I use the same. Oh yeah, unless here. There was some. Did I do anything here? Yeah, I put reverb on so when it stops, so it just rings on.
So it's just one reverb and one delay on the vocal?
Yes.
Okay.
I normally have like this. I didn't use like long reverb if I'm going to do some spacing out or some effect echo effects and the chorus. But I didn't use any chorus on this.
So what fascinates me is you managed to get all of these different sections to work from these contrasts. That absolutely fascinates me without needing automation, that you managed to get processing approaches that just stayed effective throughout. That really fascinates me. Was that one of the most significant challenges of mixing this track?
Yeah, absolutely, with this different kind of music styles. Yes. So it's like, what kind of snare drum for triggering I'm going to use here? I'm going to try with the acoustic one he had. Now I think I'm going to need a trigger on here, and find. They also have to play together with the snare drum. I think I did it here also. I normally try to tune. I use trigger on the toms also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's also Daniel Svensson toms. I think we managed them really good, and
They're just blended with the toms, are they? Or
Yeah, blended. Yes. Yeah, I tuned them here. So
Okay.
yeah, so they should fit better with acoustic snare drum.
Fantastic. Those are the toms you've recorded yourself, aren't they?
The Daniel one. Yes.
Fantastic. And just moving now to your master bus processing, if we may.
Yeah.
So you've got a little bit of, you've got compression on the master bus.
Yes, this is actually, we did a mix back in the days, and everything was so stressed. So, and they need to get the file, and we were not really done with the mix. And then it was like, we need to have the stuff now. And then we started doing mastering of it, and that chain glued the whole mix together. So now it sounds good. So I kept that chain, and I rebuilt it a little bit. So I just zero everything out, and then I start like from the beginning.
Sure.
So it's just like this 4K bus compression, this C4, the waves, cheap plugin. Here I have an EQ. This is mainly just to search for an annoying frequency and reduce it a little bit. This one is pretty, I have a hard time to use it, but it do something, some spice to it.
Really?
So this is a new one in the mastering chain. And then we have this EQ I find from Contact, the native instrument, and I find that very just on the mix. It's just do that extra. It's just like. Because we were sitting here testing EQs and I was like, yeah, this. So what I do is like I zero everything out and then I start, tweaking. The only thing that's boring with this that it doesn't support this.
Yeah.
Here.
With the 4K bus compressor, do you generally have a 30 millisecond attack time, or is that something that you tend to change?
Not really, actually, to be honest. It's just the threshold, just very slightly. It's not a lot of compressor. Just a couple of dBs.
And then you've got a bit of stereo.
This one here, it's just like also I have it not actually to get the spectrum analyzer up. And then if sometimes, because this is more snobby, this EQ was more gentleman's EQ. The other one is more rough, maybe.
Yeah.
So if maybe sometime I do some small stuff there. This we talked about before. I think this stereo widening thing. It's depending on. Sometimes I don't use it. It's depending on a little bit of soothe, not too much. And sometimes it fucks it up actually for the mastering, I think. So that's where you have to be very careful with soothe on the mastering. And then I use this limiter here. And not too much, because you don't want to have a sausage. You still have a sausage, but not a sausage.
Yeah.
Sausage.
How much dB gain reduction have we got down?
Here is nothing, more or less. But we'll do it. So, but it still has reached somewhere between 4 and 6 lufs. So it will be lowered when it's coming to Spotify or YouTube.
Sorry, 4 and 6 lufs. What?
Minus.
Minus, yeah, but is that what the inherent loudness of this mix? Do you know what the inherent loudness is?
I don't have a loudness meter, but I know. I don't know why I have it. I had one, but I don't know what's happened with it. Maybe this new operating system and it stopped working or something.
Sure.
Yeah, but every time I checked with the lufs meter, it was always between 4 and 6.
So really quite hot.
Yeah, but if you compare what we did in the beginning of 2000, 2010, this is not loud.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Am I right in saying that you haven't used any phase alignment for this mix?
No. It's just like this. We have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums, absolutely, but in the end, we have done phase alignments for a couple of albums when the mix is done and you press the phase alignments in and out, and I'm not sure if that makes any bigger difference. And also it's like there is part with phase alignment that I like and I don't like. There is some, I think the drums get more scooped when you don't use phase alignment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about... Yeah, I've chatted with Nick Raskulinets and he said as soon as you start phase aligning, it's game over. It's like you lose all the natural. You want the room mics and you want that phase alignment as it provides...
But room mics you should never phase align, then you fucked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but over it. Yeah, but you get a better presence of the snare drum. But for example, like when you have two overhead mics and you have the snare drum there, you always get the louder snare drum in the left or right, whatever. When you do the phase alignment, the snare drum just move into the middle.
Yeah.
For example, the snare drum get more presence. It's mainly the snare drum actually who affects off this phase alignment, I think.
Yeah. There's some... It sort of like loses some sense of air sometimes. Do you use that Auto Align by Sound Radix? Have you seen that plugin?
Yeah, I have that, and that's one I used.
Yeah, I use that on bass quite a lot. And on bass, do you ever use frequency bracketing for your bass?
I don't even know what that is, so I probably don't use it.
Is where like you have one channel for just the lows.
That's happened. That's happened.
Yeah, and then one like a clean amp for the lows, and then a more distorted amp for the mids. And
yeah, but this is like I don't gonna talk shit about, but there is some, what the fuck are they called? This bass dark glass.
Yeah,
and they can make the distortion on top of the bass, which I don't like. This bass sound suits me so much better. I think it's like I want the bass to be a tractor, like this. Yeah, the distortion should be inside the bass.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a really nice pedal from Finland called a Scar Bass One.
okay, but it's the same company. I probably so do.
No, it's not Dark Glass. Completely
Oh.
different. If you get a chance to check out the Scar Bass One, you actually decided not to use it, but there was a Scar Bass One bass track there.
Oh, okay.
And they're quite nice. They're much better than Dark Glass. So the way that you've got the room mics processed here with the Bomb Factory 76, the role of the room mics within the mix, is it making the drums more cohesive, or is it ambience, or what role are you using them for?
I thought the room was nice, so that's why I start. It's not much. No. But sometimes I think like the room mics can glue stuff together. Like sometimes also cymbals and stuff like that.
A bit more sustain out the cymbals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably have taken out low end, take up a little bit of the treble and cut around 1K because we have the guitar there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. And probably some compression also, I think. And on this I do, there's a little bit of compression with a high ratio. So when it gets too loud, the compression goes in and chill it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And no reverb, as there was reverb on the track.
Yep.
No bass. The most trickiest part actually on this one, and it's not perfect 100%, that was the trigging of the toms.
Yeah.
Because it was like really fast.
quick. Yeah.
So there was a couple of fill I couldn't get it 100% right.
Have you ever used stereo widening on your rhythm guitars?
Probably. But not recently.
No.
No. It's I noticed back in the 2000 when I did a lot of the stereo widening stuff, and it's just like it gets absolutely poo when it's gone to mono.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a client recently came to me and said, the choirs in my boombox, this GBL stuff people are using, I cannot hear the choirs. And then we realized that fucking it's 2023 and they are in mono. So we took it here and listened. What the fuck's going on? I was listening to it. It's in mono. It's just like in the 60s where the stereo sound came, and now 2023 there's mono machines.
Sure.
Yeah.
Last thing that we haven't talked about, your use of heat on this mix.
Yes. I think it's a lot also. Oh, we went to that side. Yeah, but this is just like... I normally actually take it out on the out of the cymbals, but I don't think I did it here. No. Very often when you have heat on, then you put it on and the cymbals get very sharp.
Yes.
And loud.
Yeah.
So normally I bypass that on cymbals, but
Sure.
not this time. But I remember that I was thinking about it and felt like, no, it's not necessary.
No. Fredrik, thank you so much. That was absolutely fascinating and absolutely brilliant job. Really
you.
appreciate lovely chatting with you. Absolutely superb. Thank you.